How's everybody doing? Okay. Well, I'm getting ready to go away, so it's crunch time. Trying to organize things and get things together, put things in order. I'm still having difficulty casting for the play that I'm working on the DACA children, the Dream Children. The Donald Trump is attacking on the immigration issue. It's a 3-act full length play. They usually take me 2 or 3 days to write, and then I fine tune it, and that can take a couple of weeks to a couple of months. But I have a little writer's block, and I'm 50 years old, and in my 50 years as a professional writer, playwright, when I started doing professional writing at 21, never had I experienced that. So I'm experiencing that now at 50. Oh, so I'm taking my time because this is a very complex play. And as far as the United We Stand, that play which is going to read in June, that's already intact. No problem there. And it will be, at another venue. And hopefully I will have it done at another venue, but the reading will still be at Columbia University. And from there, we are going to move into another venue to do another reading before we go into a lab production in August. But I really would like to launch the one that I'm writing in August, but I'm gonna have to put it through a table reading first. It's a process, and then I gotta do the advertising, and it's just the business of theater is woo. It looks easy and it's beautiful when you see the performance, but behind the scenes politics is something else. Okay, so I have to take care of that, and continue to raise money and fundraise, because even though I hit the target goal, that was the minimal. With theater, costs can easily go out of hand or go overhead. So I gotta stay on top of that, which is why I introduced the Mary Kay products as another source of raising money to continue the machinery. Today, I still use the moisturizing gel mask, and I still use the eye, to get the bags underneath the eye, because I drink and smoke, so I gotta do that, and it seems to be helpful. And I love the shower gel. So just I'm 50, but I look like I'm 35 on a good day, and it's because I've been doing this for years. Now I'm trying to think outside the box. That's the news there. Today we are going to continue and complete the series of sadomasochism and the different relationship types before I proceed with the rest of the signs of the zodiac of compatibility or incompatibility of signs. And we left off with part 8 of the sadomasochism pathology. We are going to continue with part 9, and that will complete the series of the sadomasochism. And then we're going to go into the self-sufficient type, and then jump into doing the astrological signs. So, I give a lot of examples about sadomasochism and how it manifests and how it can be of various degrees of intensity and how it can be insidious and manifest in a variety of forms. So we got two aspects to discuss. Sadomasochism comes through. It can be intense, but it's not just the intensity, it's also the different variations in which the sadomasochism pathology in a relationship manifests. It doesn't always be all out, drawn out sadomasochism where you can identify it and the outside observer can see that this is a pathological, sadistic relationship. No, it can be extremely subtle with various degrees of intensity. And I think I mentioned in the sadomasochism part 1 that the first example of the sadomasochism model is the concept of theology, of God. Well, God is perfect, and we, as humans made of dust, are imperfect. So that sets the tone for the sadomasochism pathology to happen. Since we have one with God, we must now have one with each other as human beings and with nature, which is why we destroy nature and we hunt and kill animals and we cut trees for paper. So we have a sadomasochism relationship with our planet. We have it with ourselves, but the creator set that up. Because if you go with theology and you go with the concept of the Western culture in which we learn about Genesis, that God punished us because of our dareness to reach and think outside the box. That God said, oh no, you can't eat from this tree of knowledge or you'll be like gods like us. Oh no, we got to take you out and put you here. We can't let you advance and be like us. You need to go through the grind. That, like I mentioned in part 1, is a sadomasochistic setup. Let's look at it for what it is. Theologists know this, and this concept is taught in theology school and in seminary schools. It's just not for the public to hear about it. Because even the theologians and theologians don't know really what to make of the fact that we have a perfect God that made an imperfect human species, which he can punish and reward at his leisure. That sounds kind of fucked up. But if we look at the concept anthropologically and through religion, the concept of Jehovah, Yahweh, and the Old Testament, which we were indoctrinated to learn, teaches that this God is a punisher, a destroyer, a retributionist. It says in the Bible, vengeance is mine, I'll repay. It's in Genesis, and in Deuteronomy it's repeated. So this is an angry God that we as a Western culture have ascribed or held on to. Oh, please. He comes in many names. He's not just Jehovah. It's Jesus. It's Saturn. It's Buddha. It's Krishna. It's Brahma. It's Kali. It's Vishnu. Zoroaster. Whatever name you want to call it. It's the same setup. This is why this earth is full of so much pain and so much conflict. It's unlike anything in the universe. You think I want to come back here? If I can go to another star system and another planet where life is better and it's not so sadistic, I would, wouldn't you? But at the moment, that's not possible. Not while we are bounded in this prison of material carbon-based matter. So today, we're going to jump right in and we're going to talk about sadomasochism pathology number 9 and close this segment and then close the complete series when I deal with the self-sufficiency dynamic, where we'll continue with the incompatibility or compatibility of sign. So let's begin. Of course, I gotta have my little drink on, but I'm doing so much better, and I'm not drinking as much. No, or smoking as much, But I'm still keeping up with my Mary Kay products. Okay, understand that. One thing that to tie this all together astrologically is, how do I connect sadomasochism with astrology? What signs of the zodiac are connected to sadomasochism and the pathology of sadomasochism? What signs, what planets, what aspects and rulerships and the houses? So we're going to discuss that today. I'm gonna give you the template of what that is, and go back to religion and God and even Jesus Christ and connect it and do an entire roundup and close this. This will be the last segment of number 9 for this sadomasochism. I did tell you it was gonna be a long one, didn't I? It's a long one. So then after that, we're gonna go to the self-sufficient dynamic, which can also be pathological. Okay? So we're gonna begin. Okay. Understand that astrologically, the sadomasochism archetype correlates with the signs of Virgo and Pisces. Just in case you didn't know. The sign, astrologically, sadomasochism relates to Virgo and Pisces, the 6th house and the 12th house. But the planetary rulership are not included. Ah, Mercury, which rules Virgo, is not in the profile of the sadomasochism pathology as it relates to the astrological signs and planets and houses. The ruler of Pisces is Neptune. Neptune also doesn't fit the profile of a sadomasochism pathology. If anything, Neptune is a higher octave of Venus in function in the ego and personality. So these planets, even though they rule these signs and the houses, they don't fit the profile of the sadomasochism pathology. The planet that this is attributed to is the planet Pluto, the ruler of Scorpio, the most sadistic sign of the zodiac. We're not sure as astrologers which one is more sadistic. Aries, the god of war, or Scorpio, the god of death. Neither one offers a sobering prospect, but both are necessary in the grand scheme of things and in the human condition. And they play major aspects of the creation of our universe and the cosmos. We won't have the order and structured universe that we have today if the chaos didn't precipitate it. And that's Scorpio and Aries, Mars and Pluto. So we have to look at these two planets when we are dealing with a sadomasochistic pathology concerning human relationships and more specifically human behavior. Okay? So understand that is what we have to kind of like get to the bottom of, get into the grips of. And how to identify it when you run into a relationship dynamic where you find yourself in this type of situation. The first thing you have to ask yourself is, why did the universe allow you to fall in this type of pattern of a pathological or unhealthy relationship? What is it trying to do? Is it trying to destroy you? Or is it trying to call your attention to something that you need to change? And because you're not paying attention and you're not looking within to make the fundamental changes you need to do for yourself, the universe is going to send you a motherfucker that's going to bring it out of you. So we can say that the universe is also sadomasochistic, because there is no stagnation in the universe. If things either evolve or they degenerate. Nothing stands still in nature. Any anthropologist will tell you that. So too, in the human behavior and in the human condition, nothing stays stagnant. If you are a loser and a lazy motherfucker most of your life, you're going to attract a partner that's the opposite and is going to light your ass on fire to get you moving. Understand that this universe functions in duality, but also through fire and action. Nothing in nature, including human nature, is allowed to be stagnant. So if there is conflict in your relationship, understand that the universe is trying to stir things up to move you from a certain place of stagnation to a certain place of evolution. But that's going to require pain and conflict. Nothing you can do. Nothing you can do about it. Nothing you can do about it. You have to come into a psychological understanding that the universe is a positive place, a good place, and that God is a good God. Not the profile of Jehovah in the Old Testament, who is a ferocious, angry, vindictive God and makes no problem letting you know about it. No? But that's the Old Testament. Those are ages past, but we're still dealing with the same deity. So we have to move away from that as a human species and evolve to something better. We only know and can do better when we learn to do better. It's not going to happen automatically. That doesn't happen in nature, and it doesn't happen in human nature either. So, having said all that, how do we close this chapter on sadomasochism? Well, like I said, astrologically, sadomasochism archetype correlates to Virgo and Pisces. And from around AD 0, okay, AD 0, so are we going back? Oh, okay, to the beginning of time? For purposes of brevity, let's say to the beginning of time. Until now, we have been living in the Piscean age. Many years ago, for example, I did a research study of people who live or who consciously um, find themselves in a sadomasochistic pathology. And there is an S&M church. I forgot where they are, and other people have done studies on the S&M church and have done birth charts of these members on the S&M church. And there's some psychiatrists and some psychologists that have actually done profiles on their clients that have been involved in sadomasochistic relationships. I happen to know 4 of these major prominent astrologers, world known, all from Columbia University, which is why I know it, since I go there. I know who they are and I've read their books, but I'm not allowed to mention their names. But they are also psychotherapists and psychiatrists, and one is a psychologist, but they're also certified astrologers. And that's fantastic, because I think that the mental health field needs a revamping. Many of my clients, believe it or not, are under therapy through psychiatrists or psychologists. It would be wonderful if we as psychologists and psychiatrists can work together with astrologers. We will be able to heal a lot of what's happening with our human condition. But that's not going to happen because of this. Money. It's good to keep you sick because that generates more money. This country is something else. But we can't blame this country because all the countries are like that. There's a cure for HIV, for AIDS. Of course there is. But that's never going to be revealed because there's too much money at stake for you to be sick. Okay? So understand the politics. There's no money in self-empowerment. The government would rather that you be codependent than to be independent. So our own government engages in the sadomasochism pathology. People who are on welfare and are welfare recipients, that's a way to keep them poor and keep them disempowered, instead of teaching them tools to empower themselves. See, so sadomasochism can come in very, very subtle ways. You gotta be a motherfucker to figure it out and pick at it and see it for what it is. But at the end of the day, you still have to make a decision why you are in a relationship dynamic that requires this type of experience. That's something that you have to answer for yourself. And that answer comes from within. If you have the courage to look in and see the real deal of what's going on with you, which awarded you to be in this type of situation. Okay? So having said that, understand that we are just leaving the Piscean age. And like I said, the sadomasochistic pathology correlates to Virgo and Pisces. And we're living in the Piscean age. And what have we seen throughout the world? Pain, wars, suffering, hunger, diseases. Doesn't that sound like God is punishing us? Punishing the earth, the planet? 2,500 years since the Piscean age, we've known nothing but suffering and pain. That's a sadomasochistic setup. But of course, how could it not be? We're living in the Piscean age. And that makes sense universally why there's so much pain and so much wars and so much famine and so much misery on this planet. Hopefully in the Aquarian age, which will take us away from the sadomasochistic model of the Christ and God that believes that we are imperfect because we are filth, because we are in flesh and blood, and that cannot inherit the kingdom of God. So we must die to be pure. That bullshit will hopefully be done with in the Piscean age. But we have to look towards another model in the Aquarian age. And we don't know what that is. Neither do astrologers know. Unless you are a Mason of a 33rd degree or higher, because I'm an initiate, but I'm not at the 33rd degree level. I'm at the 7th degree level, not 33. I still got a lot going, to reach. I'm still kind of very young. But we know that the truth becomes more clear when we get up there, but it's also more demonic. And that's another mystery that I really cannot discuss, since I'm not at a degree of adeptness to discuss it. But understand that everything is a process and everything is an evolution. Okay? So, having said that, when the studies of the members of the S&M church were done, you know what they discovered? 99% of the birth charts pointed to Virgo and Pisces, and the 12th house and the 6th house, and Pluto and Mars and Saturn. In my own chart, and I've told you, I've been in sadomasochistic relationships. Horrible, sadistic, violent relationships. But most of my planets are in the 12th house. And I am a Virgo. And I got Pluto in Virgo. So I was a walking, talking, breathing sadomasochist. And I attracted the sadist and the masochist. And at one point I was the sadist and the masochist. Yeah? Yeah? So how do you break that dynamic if you find yourself in one? And what is the purpose of being in this combination and being this type of relationship dynamic? Okay? A lot of it has to do with the fact that we have been taught in our Western culture, right? That we are imperfect. That we are not perfect. And therefore we must suffer. Okay? Jesus Christ had, according to an astrologer, I forgot the name of the astrologer. He did the chart of Jesus Christ, and he said that in the birth chart he had Pluto in Virgo, and most of the planets opposed each other. I think, but he had. Let's see, the astrologer was Donald. I believe it was Donald Jacobs. Research him, Donald Jacobs. He did the birth chart for Jesus Christ. Okay, and in this chart, Pluto is conjunct Mars in Virgo, which is both retrograde in the ninth house. Okay, and in opposition to the Sun, the Moon, Venus, Jupiter, Uranus, and Saturn in Pisces within the third house. Neptune is the ruler of Pisces. Okay, and is conjunct the South Node in Scorpio. In essence, the life of Jesus Christ was a life of suffering for our sins, of trying to absolve our guilt through absorbing the karma, right? Absorbing the karma through the act of suffering, through the act of sacrificing his own life. By sacrificing his own life, you absorb the karma of humanity for being imperfect and doing the sins that society does. And this is so he represents that. So the way for you to understand how to get out of a situation like that, again, I talk more about the Garden of Eden, how that was set up in part one. But if you want to get out of this type of relationship, understand that your childhood upbringing, the relationship dynamic of your parents, might have set the tone for you to then seek another abuser or another victim, or you yourself become that. This is something psychological that is absorbed from the parents or your upbringing. there's usually psychological and emotional abuse or physical abuse. So once you understand that, you can connect that to it. Believe it or not, it will break on its own. It'll break on its own. It's that simple. It is that simple. And that ends this segment.